times. Queer times. Queer times.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Queer Times. I'm Harrison Fish.
And I'm Kristen Becker.
Hey Kristen.
How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good week since I last saw you?
Yeah.
Chill?
Yeah, very chill. The WNBA started, so that's been taking up a lot of my time. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about it today.
We're not.
No.
Not here. We'll talk about it. Just
Yeah,
not
we've
to
been talking
you
about
folks.
it.
What are we going to talk about today, Harrison?
Today we're talking about the big beautiful bill.
One big beautiful bill. Ariak.
I was talking with my friend today, and she decided, she's like, that needs to be someone's drag king name.
And I agree.
Big beautiful Bill. Please welcome to the stage, Big beautiful Bill.
Big beautiful bill. It's terrible, and our society is crumbling before our very eyes.
The One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It's like Mad Libs.
It is. I think they think it's a jab at the Build Back Better. I think that's what they believe because Biden had the Build Back Better.
I just imagine him being like, it's one big beautiful bill.
No, it was definitely that too, but I always believe that they're always trying to be punk ass bitches. Do you know what I mean? Like deep down, that's their...
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily have to try too hard.
No, but they will like make it a point.
Yeah.
To be extra mean just because they think it's hilarious the way people go, wow, that was really shitty. And they go, libtard.
Right.
Okay, so what are the things in here that you are most concerned about?
I mean, obviously the cuts to federal funding programs, cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, these are things that so many people, I don't want to say poor people, but because the middle class relies on these as well, because the middle class is poor now.
Because there is no middle class, and
Right.
because the cost of healthcare has skyrocketed. For a lot of reasons, not even the least of which is the fact that you can have commercials for pills on... Anyway, don't get me started. Okay, sorry, that'll be a tangent. I feel like if you voted for this and you just lost your healthcare, you don't get to say anything. And I'm struggling with how I'm supposed to have compassion for people who perhaps were misled and made a bad decision for their own personal life, but I'm just mad at them.
Yeah. If only there were people standing there going, you're making the wrong decision. It's going to be bad for you.
It really is hard to sit back and have empathy for anybody who refused to believe that this was going to be what happened. Even though people said it over and over and over and over again.
I think those people that are like, oh my God, I voted for Trump and now the tariffs are crushing my business, or I voted for Trump and now I'm getting kicked off my healthcare. And I think that message, I'm glad they're putting that messaging out, but like, I don't need to hear it. The other people, you know what I mean? Just meaning like the other people who voted for Trump. And the thing about these people is
these people.
Yeah, these people.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Is they truly knew it was going to make people's lives worse having Trump in office. They knew trans people's lives were going to be worse. They knew queer people's lives were going to be worse. They knew people of color's lives were going to be worse, especially immigrants. Their lives were going to be worse, and they wanted that. And now that like, oh, it's your life that's worse. Now, oh my God, I can't believe this.
They did not ever expect their life to be worse.
Yeah.
Do you think, let's just, here I am advocating for the devil again. Is there an end to this that makes this worth it? I think the part that I need, there are still diehards right now who are like, we told you it was going to suck for 2 years. And this is the sucking part. Does anyone know what the good part is? As maybe you're an economics major, maybe you're a healthcare person, maybe you are a congressional aide, or you are a lawyer. Could you break down the part where this gets better and we get great again? Just explain to me like I'm an idiot. If you could just break it down how that's going to work for us, I'm dying to hear it because I'm open. I'm ready to listen about how, and don't tell me you won't understand, but tell me how adding money to our national debt, putting taking money from poor people, putting it directly into the pocket of wealthy people is going to help everyone. And based on the minimum wage that hasn't increased federally in decades, are you going to tell me that everyone's going to get a basic income? Great, fine. Tell me what the big, beautiful plan is.
Right.
And I'll
You
sign
can look
that.
it up. It was Project 2025.
Yeah.
That he had never heard of, but seemingly is
So here's
checking
my
every
question.
box.
All right, here's my question. Big Beautiful Bill cuts federal aid to healthcare clinics of states that might fund things that they don't agree with. Okay, will they continue to fund states who do things that the federal government agreements? Perchance this woman in Georgia who has died and they are keeping her alive so the baby in her belly can make it to term. Will the government pay for that hospital bill? Or I'm just curious. Of will that be covered, or will her family, will the baby be sad? Is this just a way to keep that medical debt going, and the baby's born with this medical debt?
The family's being charged for it all.
The family's being charged for her care.
Mm-hmm.
Is she over 18?
Yeah,
that's fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how the world works. You're like that's not
right.
You're a grown up. Those are your bills. You're dead. You're you're forcing someone to spend money that they don't want to spend, and that doesn't sound very conservative to me.
A lot of the things happening within the Big Beautiful Bill aren't going to be put in place until after the midterm elections.
Interesting,
which is a bummer because, I mean, it's hard because I want to say like the writing's already on the wall, and I'm hoping that people have woken up a little. Mm-hmm. But I thought that after 2016, I thought that after 2020, and I thought I just like couldn't imagine him winning again because I'm like, he hasn't gained any supporters.
No.
But hopefully he's lost some, and I guess that wasn't true.
You mean in Congress?
No, I mean like his votership. Like I was like, since he won in 2016.
I mean, a whole lot of them are about to die.
Right.
I mean, that's the only perk we could come out of this is that there's probably a lot of his voters that are on Medicaid right now.
Right.
And well, I guess we'll lose those before the midterms.
Jesus. Horrifying.
But like,
no, I hear you.
This is the world we live in.
Yeah.
They did this to us. This is the rich people want the poor people to suffer, and they're doing it. And it's weird because it's almost like it seems counterproductive to their desire to increase babies, right? Like they're like, oh, we want all the people alive, but they only want the fetuses. They don't want the people alive.
Right.
Want to know an industry that did win from the Big Beautiful Bill?
What?
The tanning industry.
Yeah, what is this
There was
about?
a 10% excise tax on indoor tanning services that have been removed in the Big Beautiful Bill. As considered an overreach, it was part of the patient protection. It was part of Obamacare, basically saying, we know this is going to give you skin cancer. And I will say that I did have a time in my life where I would tanning bed in like winters in Buffalo about once a week just to like
get your glow on.
Just to like it felt like a shot of vitamin D.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was a little, but not much. And I did already have to get a little spot frozen off of my face for what it's worth. I mean, I do live on the Cape, so that's a thing too. But anyway, so if you are tanning, it will be 10% cheaper.
That's
because
insane.
The excise tax on tanning has been removed for your health.
I mean, I'm very into skincare and protecting your skin, and sunscreen is outrageously the most important thing beyond anything else. And I feel like tanning beds and having a sunburn should be viewed the same as like smoking cigarettes.
That it's just really bad for you?
Yeah, it's like people being like, oh my God, he went to the beach today and didn't wear sunscreen and I'm so sunburnt. I'm like, what I hear is like, oh my God, I went to the beach today and chain smoked a whole pack of cigarettes and threw up. And I'm like, it's not cute.
Right. Like, yeah. I did have to age into skincare. I'll tell you that now. I used to I'm Italian. I'm Irish and Italian. So I get a nice olive going. Mm-hmm. I didn't worry about it too much until this little wake up call here. And then I was like, I better start putting stuff on.
Okay, there is something else I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Kind of outside the big beautiful bill, but is relevant.
Yeah.
So the big beautiful bill passed by one vote.
Yes.
It was 215 to 214. All but 2 House Republicans supported the massive budget package.
Which 2 House Republicans did not support it?
Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Warren Davidson of Ohio opposed to the bill.
Congratulations. No, listen. We in the way that like we want to tear down the assholes, we have got to build up the people who have the fortitude to stand in their character with leadership, even if they're Republican. More importantly, if they're Republican.
I feel like if they were standing in their character, they wouldn't be Republicans. Like,
the
one thing that really frustrates me about Trump is he has made it so, this idea of like Republicans being so bad that somehow some of them are allowed to be good again. Like Ellen being friends with George W. Bush. We remember he's awful, right?
No, we all remember he's awful, but what I'm talking about is knowingly, under this administration specifically, knowing that the minute you stand up for what is right against this administration, you have a target on your back, and this is an administration that is just shooting left and right. So I do think that people who are standing up right now, if you are a Republican, if you are leading a resistance within your own party, I applaud that, and I will not shit on you. I will say thank you for your leadership. Even if we're going to disagree on some things, I am going to say if you did now, there are people who will counter and say, well, yeah, I mean, they stood up because they knew it was going to pass anyway, and they knew they weren't going to have enough to actually make it fail, so they end up looking good. And that might be the case. But I feel like there has to be more people within that party at least having the courage to put a target on themselves.
I just feel like there should be so many more.
No, there definitely should be. There definitely should be. Okay, so it passed by one vote.
Yes.
And how many Democratic Congress people passed away?
So since March, 3 Democratic Congress people have passed away while in office.
Since this March?
Since this March, 3 of them.
Wow.
They all died from cancer complications.
So they all knew they were dying?
I mean, they were fighting cancer and still running for office at 75. What?
We need to know what states these are. Because if it's a state that you automatically, the governor then appoints a congressperson to finish out the term, I'm actually okay with that. In that they secured their spot. In the same way that I believe that Biden didn't drop out of the race because he knows he's dying. I will never not believe that Joe Biden, I believe wholeheartedly that Joe Biden knew he had cancer, knew he was going to die in the next 4 years. That's why he didn't drop out of the race, was gonna win. Kamala would be president and he would leave a crazy fucking legacy. I have a similar feeling about these Congress people. If they're in states where then a Democratic governor would appoint the new congressperson, is that the case?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just think like people battling cancer who are in their 70s shouldn't run for office. This past week, Representative Jerry Connolly passed away at 75 while in office. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he was elected as the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, a role that he beat out Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for. And I remember it was another instance. People felt it was another instance of, let's put this old white man in charge and continue to quell progressivism and younger people.
Fair.
Raul Grijalva also passed away this past March. He was 77, battling cancer, and a sitting representative.
Okay.
Sylvester Turner was 71, battling cancer, passed away in office. And these are 3 votes that would have made this big, beautiful bill not pass.
But unfortunately, none of our Congress people could make it to the vote because they were all dying of cancer.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is, if I understand correctly, is that our Congress people are too old and
Yes,
have too much cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And them making themselves these egomaniacs that need to hold position of power into their 70s while having cancer, then created a situation in which cancer research is being defunded.
I would think that if you have cancer, you should not be allowed to run for office.
I mean, yeah, but I also don't think
stage 2, not for any other reason than like as a society, we should be like, hey, you should focus on your health.
Yeah.
And not that I want to take away your autonomy, but I believe that if you're getting chemotherapy, at the very least, we should consider whether or not you should and could fulfill the duties that our taxpayers are paying your salary for. If you were a private business, work until whatever, but if you're saying I want to serve the people, it's kind of unfair to put the people in a position where we have to decide to vote for you when you may very well either not make it 2 years or be in chemo for those 2 years. And even though you're there, you're not because you're really sick and you're full of poison.
Yeah, I just think being in your 70s should be enough of a reason to not.
I know.
And that I feel like this whole like us talking about like, oh, and then they have cancer. I feel like that makes it more outrageous, but I don't feel like there needs to be an extra reason to not be a congressperson in your 70s.
And I will still stick by I don't care how old you are when you're a congressperson, just don't do it for longer than like 4 or 6 years.
I'm into that. Yeah.
I feel like, because I think I would like to see, I want the wisdom of experience around. I just don't want it to be the only wisdom that's around, and I don't want it to be the driving wisdom.
And also, when we talk about
I want it in the back seat,
right.
just like throwing up hints of wisdom.
Yeah, almost like if they were to uplift
driving mistake.
If they were to uplift someone younger to take their place and then be on as an advisory
be
position.
A mentor.
I mean, and you say like experience, but what experience is it? Like, yes, Nancy Pelosi has been serving in our government for 30, 40 years, and that is experience, but when's the last time you think Nancy Pelosi went grocery shopping?
No, but that's what I mean by only 4 to 6 year terms forever.
Yeah.
Like 2-year terms only run up to 3 times, and I think that might be a lot. Experience from whatever private sector they came from, or life experience, diverse experiences. Some will be wealthy, some will not. Once you remove this 20, 26, 30 years of service, you remove the stranglehold of local funds for elections in local Democratic parties. Right? So once you untangle that like grip, that once somebody gets in it, their goal is to stay in it for 20 years because it's going to be their career. Once that changes as a society, you're going to have just more ideas and more different types of people. Someone being like, you know what, I'm burnt out at my job. I've been an executive. I'm 36. I'm going to give 2 to 4 years to this. I think that's more likely to happen
than these like lifelong.
You get on the political train when you're an intern at 21 for the Young Democrats of whatever.
Your insider training by 40.
Exactly. Correct. Yes. You're knowing all the fundraisers and meeting all these people. Like once that stops becoming a component, I just think we'd get a much more robust group of candidates with varying degrees of experience because the money will be more evenly spread again throughout possible people. And, similar to David Hogg that's why he's trying to put money to running against incumbents because they've been in for so long.
Yeah. I just don't think that people in their 70s shouldn't. The idea that I'm saying people in their 70s shouldn't run for public office, I don't think that is controversial.
That you're an ageist?
I don't think that it's
70's the new 50. All right, 55.
I don't think that's actually true. And it's also one of those things, it's like, it's not me necessarily being like, oh, old people suck and they shouldn't be in charge. It is a little of that.
I mean, it's tiny. It's a component.
But also it's like, why do you want to keep doing it? I feel like there must be something. I feel like there's something bad about why you want to do it. And in my conspiracy theory brain, it's that like, I'm like, oh, the corporations that have been putting money in your pocket for 30, 40 years own you, and they're not going to let you clock out.
I think it is that, but I think it's also just the idea that we have in America around work, and you should work until you can't work anymore.
What other career do people work in their 80s typically?
Well, generally what's happening in our society is that you retire and then you realize you don't have enough money, so you're a Walmart greeter.
No, I understand that, but like they're doing that out of necessity. What other field do people work in that they just like love so much that they want to work until they die in office?
I just think that once you have been in Congress for 20 years, the idea that you would give it up to hang out with your wife is, I agree that what you're saying is it's sus. And I believe it's a little sus, but I don't think it's conspiracy level sus. Like, I don't think it's because if you leave, someone else will find the skeletons in your closet.
Oh, I don't think it's that. I think it's corporations being like, we've already given you millions of dollars so that you will vote for the way we want you to vote and run this government the way we want you to run it. And we don't want to have to do that again with some plucky 35-year-old. So you're staying.
I'm sure that's part of it, but I don't. That game of buying off the government is generations old at this point.
Yeah.
I think they know how the handover works.
85 years old.
I don't think that's what's keeping people in office till they're old. I think it's just
the insider trading.
It's probably the insider trading, and it's probably it's a good gig. Like, do you hear the way they can talk to their constituents now? Do you hear that, like, even at these town halls, they just go, yeah, whatever. And then now people are just removing them.
Yeah.
Like, if I had been in for 15 years, I'm not quitting now. I'm like basically an oligarch at this point. Like, why would I quit? There's no free speech for my constituents.
I'm 37. I don't want to work. I can't imagine being 80 and being like, let's do more of this.
It's not work.
Oh.
It's not. It's this.
Yeah.
They're basically doing a podcast with each other every day. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're talking about some things. Maybe something will get signed. They'll yell at AOC.
Chastise her, pat her on the head.
Yeah. They're walking around being white dudes, doing white dude shit. It's not the age for me. It's how long they're there. And because I would be happy to accept that there are some folks who have a lot of knowledge at 70 and we should get it before it's too late. Agree to disagree?
It's too late.
It is too late.
It is too late.
All right. So I will say that we have a personal stake in this because the state of Massachusetts and our town is a federally funded clinic. And this big, beautiful bill will be removing federal funding from clinics that I believe do things that they don't want them to do. And I'm just going to put that out there. And hopefully our governor will be like, we're just going to keep that money then.
And these are things like providing PrEP to people.
These are things like providing PrEP. These are things like hormone replacement, which is not just for trans folks. It's also for menopause. I'm wondering, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
And I think that is the part that, I don't know. Just don't know why we're not losing our shit.
Yeah.
Like, what is the moment?
Yeah. I feel like there has to be like okay, let's all lose our shit now. Like, shut it all down.
There's been talk of general strike, but is it really happening?
I mean, think about that even locally. When 12% of our population is living in abject poverty and 60% of people in the country are living paycheck to paycheck, like, it's by design so that they can't do things like that.
Right. So we should be doing things like that?
Yeah.
Because we can?
I also think it's one of those, we are in a dire situation, and I know this is off topic, but we are in a dire situation in so many aspects. There's a genocide happening in Gaza. There is all of this happening with the Trump administration. There is our community members who aren't documented citizens being rounded up and sent to what is seemingly extermination camps. When they're being sent to a place that has a reputation that people never get out, yet there's always room for more. Like, I feel like there needs to be this idea of like anyone with a microphone in front of them, anyone with a following of any amount of people, and I'm talking your 100 followers on Instagram, it's time to use that as a way of saying things to people about how dire this is and not to be able to turn it off. I feel like I feel like I don't want any of this bullshit. Oh, just play sports. Oh, just be a singer. I'm just like, if you have a microphone in front of your face in this moment and you are not using it to talk about the atrocities happening in the world, I feel like it's irresponsible.
I feel like it needs to be a campaign. And I know that there's movement on general strike. Like, I know that there's talk of a general strike. But general strike to me, and I know it's a callback to the two general strikes in the past, but I feel like we don't live in that world anymore, and we need a catchier slogan. Like, I feel like we need a rebranding of the general strike. Like, sit your ass down.
Yeah. I also think it's like when you talk about a general strike, it's like, oh, don't work. But maybe, like I was saying, like people don't have that kind of luxury to be able to, like some people take a day off and they're fucked.
No, that's their kids' food money.
Or maybe instead of a general strike, spend as little money as you possibly can. Try to spend $0 every single day. Obviously, don't starve, take care of yourself, but like stop frivolous consumerism. Stop. You don't need a new pair of shoes.
I do need it. I actually do though.
I'm wearing a new pair of shoes. They're really cute.
Those are new?
Yeah.
I need it. Can I get one more pair?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? Like that is also what could have a dire effect on the state of what's happening.
Yeah, I'm just here for secession.
Right.
I'm just
and we're back to secession.
I'm always gonna be back to it's time to go.
Yeah.
From this because I don't think it will matter. I really still am unsure. I feel like they are now at a point where they will just bring in the military and kill people. I just don't think that our rights there's been no demonstration that our rights matter. No display from the authorities and the federal government that our rights matter. No, we've seen it. Even in the state of Massachusetts, ICE has come in and done what they wanted to with people. I don't think that the legality of your citizenship will prevent that from happening. And so for those reasons, I'm not sure. For those reasons, I'm out. I'm unsure that people, I think you got to rally locally around your local community, around your state, and then figure out how the fuck to not give them any more money federally.
Yeah.
And also don't spend money.
Yeah.
I think don't spend money is correct. I'm worried about.
It's easy for me right now. I don't have a job. So I don't really have money to spend.
All right. So the big, beautiful bill.
Ugh.
Did we cover it all?
Yeah. I think we covered it all and then some.
And then some. Yeah, we talked about that for a while.
Yeah, and we got right back to succession.
Listen, I just want to see more from our governors. I just want to see more from our governors.
I want to see more from everyone.
Yeah.
Including myself.
Same.
Please follow us.
Like, subscribe,
rate, review.
Tell your friends. Yeah. Just listen.
Please.
Listen and then send it to one person and be like, listen to this because I feel guilty if I don't send it to you because they asked me.
Yeah.
Right? Queer is in. Harrison, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about addiction.
So if addiction is an uncomfortable topic for you, you can skip this one. If you want to think more about addiction, then listen.
Yeah.
It's a thing in the queer community.
Definitely. And it definitely interacts with the queer community a little differently in the way it interacts with the general populace and straight people. Obviously, every queer person has a different experience, but there are a lot of things that are kind of experiences that we've all had that might lead you down a road of addiction.
Like the trauma of it all?
Yeah. Family relationships, being outcast.
I also feel like, and this is something that I didn't really put together until later in my life about my own addictive personality. Like I knew I had one, but you know, and I say this a lot currently about, you know, where people are like, oh, where are all the lesbian bars? And I'm like, could we have just lesbian spaces? You know, growing up in the South, if you were queer, the only place you could safely be yourself is in a bar. So I was in a bar at 16. And I was drinking at 16. And I was taught that this is the place where it was safe to be myself. And in that place, there was alcohol. And so when you look at the queer community and forming relationships and intimacy and all of that, in a lot of our country, the only place that can happen safely is connected to literally a drink in your hand, is connected to alcohol. I think that has reverberated throughout our whole culture, in that even when we're in a place that is safe, we still don't absorb it, right? Like I think you and I've talked about this, living in Provincetown is a privilege, to be in a place that is fully queer. And I feel more of a responsibility now to do it in a healthy manner. And yeah, of course, when you first move here, it's party, 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 because when everybody's on vacation, it was very similar to New Orleans. But this idea of living in a space where you are safe to be you, and now you got to tackle your own demons in your head, or what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny. I find that in Provincetown, a lot of people who have lived here for a certain amount of time tend to not drink.
Yeah. So, Townie once told me that it goes either way. Someone was like, "Wow, Becker, you really did it." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, we've lived here our whole life, and we've seen people, either you come here and you either fall into a pit of drunkenness, or you figure your shit out and move on to whatever's next. You evolve." Right. And I feel like I did evolve here, but I tell you what, it took me a while.
And say what you will about that American Horror Story Provincetown, the metaphor was good.
I can't say anything about it because I did not watch it.
Oh, well, it was basically about this drug that you take, and you take the drug, and if you're talented, you become outrageously successful.
Okay.
You just like shoot to the top, and if you're not talented, you become a vampire. And I feel like it is kind of that metaphor that you're speaking of, which is Provincetown can give you those things. Provincetown has so much to offer, but it also has so much temptation.
Yes.
And you can go one of two ways.
Similar to New Orleans, too. I feel like New Orleans I've lived in a lot of places that are that seems to be my go-to. But I started drinking at 14. Started drinking at bars at 16. I was drunk for field day my junior year of high school, right? Like that's what you did in the South. And I had coaches that were buying drinks for the lesbians.
It's crazy.
Like that's Southern queer culture, is the queer stick together, and no one tried to fuck me. Why didn't any coach try to fuck? They were trying to fuck my girlfriend at the time, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. But this has always been part of queer culture. And I think like moving out of oppression and into, well, I guess, I was going to say and into the next thing, but we're moving right back into oppression right now. So.
Right. I think one of the biggest issues within the queer community when it comes to addiction is there is such a blurry line. In the straight world, if you are doing a drug once a week, you are an addict. But within...
Not in New Orleans.
Well, right. But within the queer community, I feel like there is this hyper prevalence of recreational drug use. And I feel like it allows people to go much farther than they intended into addiction without them realizing it, because they're like, oh, it's just another party, so I'm doing it again.
And like, everyone around me is doing it again. Right. And it's a party, and it's not, and I don't have kids.
Right. But if you were at the party 5 nights, and now that means you're doing a drug 5 nights out of 7.
Yeah.
And I know it's like you only do it when you party, but if you're it's like, are you addicted to the party or the drug, or are you partying because you're addicted to the drug and that is your permission to do it?
I don't know that anyone will ever know. Right? Like which came first, the party or the drug?
Right. And especially in Provincetown, there are people of a certain status when it comes to the wealth they have, the things they own, that glamorize it.
Sure.
And then because of their wealth, their status, they are able to bring other people into it and then send them down a path because they don't have the resources.
I think that's true everywhere. Like truthfully, like I do think that's New York, Boston, anywhere where you've got high dollar, high money homos and broken younger queers trying to make their way in the world. Right. Like, right. And I think that it transcends sexuality. I think that's true for Epstein. You know what I mean? Like, I think that predatory thing is something that happens everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I guess what I mean is like, say a very wealthy person who has a relationship with a drug wants to throw a party at their house, all of a sudden they're inviting people over into their space, offering them up this drug.
Yeah.
They're making it seem glamorous because look, I'm doing a drug in this gorgeous, gorgeous home or whatever. And then all of a sudden they go back to their life. And I guess it's different when a millionaire has a $2,000 bender. It's whatever. But if some person who doesn't have that kind of wealth and resources goes on a $2,000 bender, all of a sudden they're now losing their home. They are losing their car. They can't, you know what I mean? It's
They've
different.
destroyed their life.
Right. So especially in a place like Provincetown where there are so many people of socioeconomic status interacting with each other, it becomes
the
more
mingling is
complicated.
real. The mingling is real, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any hot boy, no matter who his parents were,
right,
can work their way up the social ladder here into some rich guy's mansion doing many drugs, overlooking the ocean.
Yeah. I also find that there are kind of different drugs that exist within the queer community as opposed to the straight community.
Meth?
Right. I feel like within the straight community, like what is the biggest addiction affecting and when I say the straight community.
In the straight community?
Yeah.
Heroin.
Right. Heroin, opiates.
Downers.
Yeah. And where I feel like that, I mean, I'm not saying they don't exist within the queer community, but they're much less prevalent.
As someone who lives on the outskirts of like boy party land, it definitely feels like it's a more upper vibe.
Yeah.
Like it's coke, it's meth. It's ketamine is a thing now.
Yeah. Ketamine seems to have really expanded in popularity in the last few years.
But that's a downer, isn't it? Sedation, feeling calm and relaxed, relief from pain and amnesia, no memory of events while under the influence.
Yeah, I think the most prevalent drugs that I'm experiencing
Dissociative anesthetic. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not an upper or a downer, it's a dissociative.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like the biggest drugs, I don't kind of include marijuana in that.
Agreed.
Because it's just everywhere now.
I don't include mushrooms either.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I feel like it is a lot of meth. I feel like it is a lot of ketamine and cocaine. I feel like those are the things these days.
Yeah. And alcohol.
I've kind of learned a little bit more about ketamine in the past few months. And maybe this is the way I've been interacting with it. I've never done ketamine personally. But as I experience it with other people being around me in parties, in clubs, it seems like, or maybe the attitude that people have around it is that it's not dangerous. But in the past few months, the Vivian, who is the winner of the first season of UK's Drag Race, and she was also featured on an all-star season of the American version of Drag Race, she actually passed away because of heart failure due to her ketamine addiction.
Yeah, they said continued sustaining use of ketamine.
And it was also extra sad because she spoke about overcoming her addiction on her original season of the show from ketamine.
Right. I mean, recovery is not a straight line. That is for sure.
Nor is it ever over.
No, it's never over. And it will, I mean, I actually feel like, I was always a drinker. I definitely had issues that I didn't recognize until I went to my first therapist in like my 30s, right? Like after a lot of relationships had fucked up and after not realizing that I had a thyroid condition and just like a lot of things that I was just not realizing that I had a general anxiety disorder. And it took a therapist going, hey, when you're done with work, and at the time I had a job, and they were like, what, like 4:30, 5 o'clock, you're gonna hit happy hour? And I was like, oh yeah. And they were like, every day? I was like, man, most of them, like it was nothing. And it was literally that conversation that made me go, oh, I was just surrounded by people who did that. And it never occurred to me that people didn't do that. Everybody went to happy hour, right? And so I just feel like we're so steeped in this culture of drinking and happy hour and all of it that like it's hard to remove yourself, to understand it about yourself and to remove yourself from it. When I was on the road, I definitely drank every day, and I drank a lot every day, and I probably smoked a pack of cigarettes, like every day.
See, I've never smoked cigarettes. I feel like I was much more. If I were to ever smoke cigarettes, I would be more worried to tell my parents that I was a cigarette smoker than any coming out ever. You know what I mean?
Really? That's good.
They were very much instilled that in me, and also for me personally, alcohol has never been an issue because I get sick before I get drunk. So there were even times in my 20s where I'm like, I just want to be drunk. Look at everyone. Everyone's drunk and having fun. But
in the same way that I want to see more inclusive spaces that aren't just lesbian bars, I want to see more approaches to acknowledging addiction that aren't just AA. That aren't, number one, quit. I mean, I know harm reduction is a thing and it works in a lot of places, but you know, the way that AA has a hold on the sobriety game, like if you're in court, you have to go to AA. Like that's not one thing is going to work for everybody. That's just the fact. I went to a couple AA meetings and it wasn't for me, and I'm glad it works for some people, and I would never say it shouldn't exist. I just feel like we need to have more ways to live a queer life that don't involve alcohol. And I feel like that is something that is lacking in a lot of neighborhoods. You'll get like 100%. One bookstore, one coffee shop. But the movement is happening. You know, there are sober meetup groups and that sort of a thing.
I also feel like there's I think people are moving away from the idea that you mentioned earlier, which is like, oh, everyone does that. Everyone drinks.
Right.
People are starting to be like, well, not me. And where are the other people who don't?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really working to not drink this summer. Like just to gym. I have so much to do that like I enjoy it. Now my drinking is very intentional. Right? Like I'm not like, oh, I'll just have a drink at dinner. I'm not that person ever. But I am like, oh, it's opening day of the OC, the dive bar in town that I love. Yeah, all right, I'll go have some for that day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day, right? And I think that just having discussions around addiction and what causes you to use whatever your substance is, and unpacking how you got there is such a huge step that I wish there were more outlets for that weren't labeled lame. Right? Or like boring, that like, you know, this idea that queers and minorities taking care of themselves is actually punk as fuck. Right? Like that self-care is a way to beat your oppressor. And I will say that a lot of gay men get that in the gym. Right? I do think that there is a lot of that, but also, you know, making sure that you're not doing drugs so much that your anxiety never stops and all of those things.
Right. I also feel like there's been a huge push obviously, like you said, we don't want spaces that are specifically centered around alcohol, but the spaces that are centered around alcohol are beginning to recognize that there are people who want to come be in those spaces who aren't going to drink and offer more options for them.
I will spend good money on a mocktail.
Yeah.
I will, as long as it's a good mocktail.
Well, for me, it's like I find that I go out and most places that don't offer, I don't know that I want a mocktail, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But also, like, if I've worked in enough bars to know that often you ask for a mocktail and it's like, oh, I'm going to put every juice we have in a cup.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're drinking like this sugar bomb.
Right.
But I've been starting to see more options, which is great.
I thought I would never be a non-alcoholic beer person. But I am now. And I didn't know that. But there is something about the like, I'm going to sit at a bar and I'm going to crack this beer and I'm going to chug it. Right. And I found that was really helpful for when I do shows, because there is something about the adrenaline of it all.
Oh, yeah.
And is very much a habit for me to like crack a beer before, like usually as I'm about to get on stage, not before, but like as I'm starting the process. And I found that now I'm an NA beer kind of gal.
I love that.
Who knew?
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Here We Go Kip, I think it's called. It's got a really weird name.
Okay.
But they served it at Loco last summer. And I was like, oh, I like this. And I like the Athletic too.
See, for me, it's like I didn't like beer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Fun story. My two lifelong addictions are beer and cigarettes. And I taught myself how to drink beer because when I was in a sorority, it was free at parties, and I was always drinking rum and Coke, and I was like, no, so I would just like, I bought a 6-pack of Corona, and I taught myself to like beer. And then I also taught myself to smoke cigarettes. Cancun, senior trip, my mom was a chaperone. I was a freshman. All the other girls on the trip were juniors and seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an all-inclusive trip, and you could buy cigarettes. You could sign for a pack of Marlboro Lights in Cancun at any age to your room. And I knew that at 6 o'clock that night I was hanging out with the seniors. And they all smoked. And so I went and I bought myself a pack of cigarettes, and I taught myself how to smoke.
That's scary.
I taught myself how to smoke 2 years prior. No, maybe the year before. In 8th grade, I pretended to be allergic to smoke so I wouldn't have to smoke with the kids outside and like not look lame. But that was literally like I peer pressured myself, no one else did, to hang out with seniors, and I've been smoking ever since.
Yeah, I have other friends who have been addicted to cigarettes and had what they described as a problem, and they've used a vape as kind of like a transition tool.
It's been a helpful transition tool. Yeah. I try not every now and again I'll have a cigarette.
One thing I notice about people in recovery from addiction, and this is just an observation, but I see them kind of move their addiction somewhere else.
Yes.
That happens a lot within the queer community, where people will be in recovery and all of a sudden I'm like, maybe you're addicted to going to the gym now. You went for 3 hours today.
Yeah. And I guess the question is addiction the problem, or is the substance, is the addiction the problem, right? Like,
yeah.
Because if you're addicted to going to the gym, I mean, you're not unpacking what is causing your underlying anxiety that's making you either run yourself or drink yourself or smoke yourself to sleep. But
And also those types of things aren't viewed as problems as much as they could or should be, you know?
I think getting somebody off of a drug is so hard that the wins are the wins.
Right.
And if all that energy you spent trying to find meth is now turned into you being at the gym until you have no more energy to carry on. Okay.
It's like still not great, but much, much, much better.
I mean, I guess I feel like we're back to spectrum, right? Where, you were like, I do not have an addictive personality. And I do. And that's why I've never done cocaine. I've never done coke in my life. Not once. My best friend was really fucked up on it in college. And it was something that was like, I don't do one. I don't do one cigarette. I don't do one beer. I'm not doing one bump.
Right.
I'm not ever gonna. And that it really kept me in line, because on the road, people offer you coke, especially the places I was playing. I was playing like dive bars, and you don't have an addictive personality. I very much do. And I think this is a situation that, like, there is no one right answer. Everyone is their own little special spot on the spectrum of addiction too, right? Like this idea that addiction's a terrible thing. I don't know. Like, I guess so, but like, isn't it just a special interest?
Right.
Like, what's the difference between an addiction and a special interest? When it's not drugs.
Right.
When it's not a physical, I'm withdrawing from a substance that I put into myself. Like the gym, I guess that is drugs too, because it's the chemicals in your brain that you're addicted to. You're addicted to that feeling. Yeah. Is a marathon runner an addict? Probably.
Right.
Why else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want that high, that feeling. And so I think it's more about unpacking. We just quickly labeled something addiction instead of being like, well, everybody's on their own journey in this life. And you're going to run into some things that are going to speak to you, and you're going to fall headfirst into them. And then there's a Harrison who's going to be like, nothing speaks to me. No, I'm kidding.
Literally, though.
Like, you never struggle with
food, really.
But yeah, okay, but I'm for sure same, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not like not, right? Like, I have a weird like night eating thing.
Me too.
Like hormones, like middle of the night, like wake up from a dead sleep and stumble out.
For me, it's like I wake up, I drink a bunch of coffee, I don't eat all day, and then I eat a massive amount of calories, like from like 7 to 11.
But I don't like, that's the sort of thing where
it's disordered eating.
I guess it is disordered eating, but again, like, I mean, I just, compared to who?
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm getting a little bit there are so many diagnoses of so many things where I'm like, I don't know, is your blood work okay?
Right.
Is your blood work okay? Are you feeling good about yourself?
Yeah.
Let's not like,
Yeah. There's no need to like overdiagnose.
Are you throwing up after?
No.
There you go.
Yeah. It was so funny when I was younger, I actually watched a show on addiction, and there was this guy who was he's like, this is my typical day. I wake up, I drink all this coffee. I don't eat all day. I go for a run. And I was running every day at the time. And he's like, then at like late night, I like pig out and I eat all of this food. And I was like, he's like, then I purge. I was like, oh, okay. I'm good.
As long as you're not purging, you're good.
I guess. Yeah.
In addiction land. What are other things? I mean, drugs, sex. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Sex addiction. Especially
within the queer community and of gay men specifically, it is always there for you.
I had someone say that there's no, someone who I know identifies as a sex addict, saying that there are no meetings for sex addicts in Provincetown. And I was like, yeah, because that's not the thing they're trying to quit. Like, everyone comes here to quit the drugs sometimes, but then what are you going to do with all that free time? Right? But
yeah.
is it unhealthy? Is being addicted to sex unhealthy?
I guess the word addiction,
right?
I guess it should be or is applied when you're damaging yourself. If you're having sex every day and it is healthy, protected, consensual sex, fine. But even if you are having sex every day and it is healthy, consensual, safe sex, but you are missing work, if it is affecting your relationships in your life, then it can be addiction.
Right. So the addiction is really about how your behavior is manifesting in your day-to-day life and how it's impacting your personal happiness and success.
Right.
If someone's happy being an addict, I'm here to tell them, carry on.
Right.
I'm a conservative, you know? No, I'm kidding.
Right, exactly. But I do want to end this episode by saying there's so many resources.
Yes.
If you or someone you know is experiencing symptoms of addiction or has a problem with kind of anything, any of the things we've talked about today, there are resources for you. In our community, we're very lucky to have a robust AA system here in town. There's
a really good AA community in town.
Yeah. And there's also
an NA community, I think.
And there's also, I know, groups that meet all winter specifically in regards to meth addiction as well as chemsex addiction. And
explain chemsex addiction.
I think it's one of those things where people typically only have sex or pursue sex that involves substances, most specifically meth, potentially GHB, things like that. And especially in a town like this where we often talk about the prevalence of sexual tourism and the sex that happens in town, it is prevalent.
Yeah. People come here to fuck.
Yeah. But a quick Google search, you can find resources in your area. There's also online resources if you're not in an area where you have access to these things. You can go online and seek out those resources that are available to you.
Yeah, I don't think that at any point in time do I want it to feel as though I'm minimizing.
No. I did read a statistic that some studies estimate that 20 to 30% of the LGBTQ plus identifying individuals are addicted to a substance, as opposed to 9% for people who identify as straight. And I wonder if it's another one of those things where I wonder if we're being judged on a scale that is designed for straight people. It's kind of the same thing as like when it's crazy to me, but still when you go to the doctors, and I've had a lot of long conversations with my sexual health provider here in town about these questions that you got asked, like, and it's one of those things where it's like, how many sexual partners have I had this year? 0, 1, 2 to 5, or more than 5?
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't like how I fit into that scale.
Right.
And it is a scale, that scale is designed for straight people.
Correct. And who have 2 kids who hate each other.
Yeah. And I, like, that scale makes me feel like a crazy person.
Right.
And I wonder if it is the same idea when it comes to the statistic of 20 to 30% of LGBTQ plus identifying individuals is addicted to something or has a relationship with a substance. I wonder if I would fit in if someone like me is being included in that 20 to 30%.
I'm trying to figure out if 20 to 30% is on average the percentage of members of the LGBTQ plus community that are shunned by their family.
Right.
Right. Like, I think that there are definitely the extenuating circumstances that not only is that scale not built for us, but also.
So is the causation within it the fact that these are queer people? Like, just, I don't think being queer causes addiction, but I do think the way in which queer people are treated in the world affects addiction.
It is by design. It's not, it's all minorities.
Right.
That is, are you, you can't afford a vacation, have a drink.
Right.
You have a job where you're sucking fumes all day, have a cigarette. What does it matter? It's going to take the edge off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are working class, lower middle class hobbies that get shoved into our faces because they're the cheapest reprieve.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, oh, you can't go on vacation, but you can buy a 2-4 on Friday when your paycheck comes in, and you can get blackout drunk and forget for at least 24 hours.
Right. And just make sure at work on Monday morning.
Just be back on Monday. Yeah, but make sure you pick up your 2-4 on the way home every Friday. Like, I think it is tools of the oppressor. There have been times in my journey through sobriety, and I've had years of sobriety, and I've had years where I completely abstained from everything. I've had years where I only smoked spliffs, or, like, just dabbled in my consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at, like, communities that are dry, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I look at the general depression that comes after I drink or when I've been drinking, that alcohol is a depressant and it is, like, poured on top of you. I think about Muslim communities where alcohol is forbidden.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, and it makes sense to me, right? Like, I know I'm supposed to be like, American freedom, do whatever you want to, right? But also there's a part of me that's like, damn, I feel a lot better when I don't drink.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better in my brain and in my body, and, like, my body works better. And if I'm not drinking, I also don't really want a cigarette. And, like, oh, wow. And obviously I want America to have freedom and Bud Lights and fireworks and guns and all that shit. But also, maybe think about taking a little break. Just, like, if you can think about just try a month, see how you feel. Because I really want every queer to be as healthy as possible right now. I feel like in these queer times, we have got to really try to be at top of our game because the battle is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And we must be prepared.
Yeah.
And hopefully they won't convince us to drown all of our sorrows.
And also, especially in the community we live in whatever community.
Sponsored by Tito's.
Right. But in whatever community you live in, it's often like you see someone with a problem and your first instinct is to turn your nose up at them, where it's hard, but reach into yourself and offer support or be there for them if you
or
feel
just have compassion and grace.
Literally.
You don't even have to get involved directly. Mm-hmm. You could just be like, oh, damn, she is going through it.
Yeah.
And that's all that is required is just, we talk about addiction rates being so high, but then we offer no space for the addicts.
Yeah.
We talk about mental health all the time, but then we offer no space for people who are actually in an active mental health situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is just something that comes with compassion for other people and grace, and let people fuck up. And as long as it's not directly fucking you up, you don't have to talk about it. Not to everybody. Pick 3 friends.
Yeah. You need your 3 friends.
Your 3 T friends, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we should have a beginning recording. The following episode will deal with issues such as addiction. If you are uncomfortable with issues,
oh yeah,
addiction,
should we do that?
I think we should.
Yeah. And that's Queer Times for today. We want to thank Chad from the Province Sound Recording Studio for producing our episodes.
Thank you, Chad. And make sure you like, follow, and subscribe on all of your listening streaming platforms.
You're so good at that.
You like that? That was my strip club DJ.
Word.
Now coming to the stage, it's Harry Fish. Queer as in.